So welcome guys. Starting off adding some content with my God of War review. So, what is up with this game? It released 4/20, or actually it released 4/19. It was an early release on a 9 o'clock release date, and it sold for $64.19 plus tax, and it's a PlayStation Plus. So, why is this Santa Monica Studio games so freaking popular? It has grossed $3.1 million. Fastest selling PlayStation exclusive game to date ever. Right? Crazy. So, here's a little bit of backstory about it. It started off on the PS2 in 2005, and it was about Kratos, and he was a Spartan, a Greek Spartan, right? The whole backstory behind it was that he was tricked into killing his wife and daughter by the Greek god Ares. So that's where the whole storyline started off with, which was Greek mythology. Now, surprisingly enough, this series has 8 games in it. Now, the 4 that we are aware of are the ones that are the original ones. The God of War was... they were created by David Jaffe, Jaffe. I don't know how you say it. And it was done at Sony Santa Monica Studios, as I had previously said, and for the game systems. Now, the other platforms were made by different, but the first 4 of them, which are the God of War, which was in 2005, God of War 2, which was in 2007, and the God of War 3, which was in 2010, and those were all debuted on the PlayStation 2. Now, the PlayStation 3 had one, which was God of War Ascension, and that one is a little known one. A lot of people aren't familiar with that one. And so, I haven't got a chance to play it or anything, but I hear it's really good. It's not exactly easy to find, either. So, those were the 4 that were on the PlayStation Network. Now, the last one, Ascension, was actually made into a multiplayer. The 3 side games are Chains of Olympus, which was in 2008, Ghosts of Sparta, which was in 2010, and those were on the PSP, the PlayStation Portable System. And then there's also an interesting one that I had to look up for myself, which was it was a Facebook Messenger one, and it was A Call from the Wild in 2018. It is a Facebook Messenger based game, and it's a text one. So you'll go to the website and you'll say, "Hey, I want to play," and it's like a story that you type out, and so it'll tell you, I looked it up, and when I went to it, it was, okay, so you start by waking up. So it says, type get out of bed. So you type get out of bed. And then it'll give you some directions, like you want to go north, south, west, and east. And then it also gives you options whether you want to get dressed, or you want to go to the coat hanger, or something like that. So that was a bit of an interesting take on the games itself, and that was just kind of like an extra thing. Now, the game itself was the game that I'm talking about, which was the 2018 released one, the God of War. Oops. This one, I have the reverse cover on it, because a lot of people don't know is there's actually 2 sides to the covers. And I like this one because, I'm weird because I like the artwork, and the PlayStation's cool, but, I like the artwork on the other side. But anyways, it is rated M for mature for the violence, the blood and gore, the intense violence, and the strong language. like you haven't heard worse from the high school lunch table, right? But that's not the point. It is a single player game, and it's what they refer to as a storyline hack and slash. I really love the story. It's about obviously Kratos, which starts off with him and his son Atreus, which I'm not gonna lie, as soon as I heard Atreus, being a 90s baby, or an 80s baby, thank you, being an 80s baby, my first thought went to Atreyu, and then I thought of Artax, and then I thought about the poor horse dying in the swamps of sorrow. If you guys are familiar with that reference, it's the Never-Ending Story. It was, I believe, a 80s movie, and then they had 3 movies in that series. Never-Ending Story 1, 2, and 3. The 3 is not very good, so I wouldn't recommend going to see it. But the first one and the second one were pretty legit. Anyways, back to the stream at hand. And so this game starts off with Atreus and Kratos unfortunately burning his second late wife, because the last one, if you guys remember, the remaster, they actually made a remastered version of the PlayStation version of God of War 3, which originally was on the PlayStation 3, but then they made it for the 4, which is a great game to check out. I was doing that. This one, unlike the last one, didn't have a lot of quick action like the last one did, but this one had a good storyline. It has 4 different levels of difficulty. It's Tell Me a Story, 2 other ones, and then my favorite one was God of War! So even it being on story mode, it was pretty impressively hard. The first troll, I think, was not... I died 3 times before I actually get at the first one. But when I did it, I think it was getting a hang of the actual controls itself, because the controls play very similarly to a game that was made for the Xbox 360, which was called Brothers. It was a very unique take on gameplay, because you controlled each brother with a thumbstick. So you controlled one brother with one thumbstick and one brother with the other one. So you really had to think. It was like patting your head and rubbing your tummy. This one, on the other hand, God of War, was you do control your Atreus and you control Kratos at the same time. Now, the mechanics are a lot easier and more streamlined for this one, so it makes it a lot easier to be able to control him. I think the only qualms that I had was there is no real, like, targeting mechanic in it. So you had to, like, be literally looking at your enemy in order to command Atreus to shoot the enemy. Now, as for the fight style, it is open world, and the boss fights are not too hard, but they're not easy either. So, right off the bat, in the first 2 hours of the gameplay, which I have loaded up onto my Facebook, Twitch, and I have it on, I should be loading it up onto YouTube soon. The gameplay is a lot of storytell, obviously, but you run into 2 big boss fights right off the bat. So it's interesting because they literally throw you right into it. Not knowing the previous history of the games is not a big deal, because it gives you a good basis to work off of. Now, there is a character that you run into, which is one of the bosses that is from the previous storyline, that might throw you for a loop. But don't worry, it's not too important. The second boss fight does run in 3 phases. I won't get too in-depth about that, but the gameplay itself to me is absolutely phenomenal. Right off the bat, when you're going into the loading screen, or when you load right up to it, you'll see the God of War, right? And then you'll hit any button. Well, you'll see Kratos in the background with a tree and his axe. Well, this starts off the storyline, and you're like, oh, that's a cool scenery. Well, you hit continue, you choose your difficulty level, and it is literally the game. It is completely seamless. I can't even begin to tell you. There's no loading screens, there's no buffering, there's no nothing. It is incredible. Trying to get used to the actual menu style and the micromanaging of the abilities and stuff can be a bit overwhelming for some people at first, but if you sit down and look at it, it's not too bad. You can control your range shield, you can control your axe. You can also give Atreus new gear, and you can upgrade him as well as Kratos, which is pretty cool because he's not just a meat shield for you. You actually have to work on giving him better skills. Now, granted, I do let him be a meat shield. I'm a terrible person, but it's a lot easier than having to go right into things. I guess I'm more of a range person. Now, the features in terms of fighting forms, you have your axe, as you did in the previous games, if you guys are familiar with it, and you are able to throw it, and you are able to recall it. So you've got that range and targeting, which the targeting is absolutely incredible. You have your melee attacks in terms of your axe. You also have shield attacks, and you have your good old 1-2s, right? So other than that, it's Atreus that he is an archer, and one of the opening scenes that I thought was hilarious was he was like, as they were going, as the storyline progresses, which you're starting off and you're taking your late wife's ashes to the top of the mountain, which is where the storyline picks up. And it was, he needed to get ready to go to the top of the mountain, and we didn't know if he was ready. So we took him, Kratos' father took him out hunting, and one of the first things that pops up was, so what are we hunting? Deer. Where are we going? In the direction of deer. Okay. I thought that was hilarious. So the commentary in it can really throw you for a loop, and he doesn't say a lot, but it's okay. It leaves you to imagination. And obviously, if you're familiar with the previous ones, which did take place in Greek or Greece mythology, this one is Nordic, which I guess I failed to mention earlier before. But the Nordic background is super cool, and I think it fits Kratos pretty well. So everything is very Viking and strong. But other than that, I think honestly I would rate the game probably, for my first review, I'd probably rate it a good solid 9 out of 10. Which, by the way, before it was actually released, was from the critics, a perfect 10 out of 10. Probably the only game that was rated perfect before it even released. That tells you something. Which is the reason why it grossed $3.1 million in 3 days. The first 3 days, it grossed $3.1 million. Let me put that in perspective to you. For a video game, you're like thinking in terms of like blockbuster hits. Maybe not Avengers, which is what I was thinking of, but you're getting pretty damn close. So, With that also being said, there's also a special God of War PlayStation Pro that was released that was for limited edition pre-order only. Now, these systems was a steely gray, which mimicked Kratos' axe itself. So it has all the designs on it and stuff. The controller that came with it was the design of Kratos' axe, and it was killer. It was so cool. So trying to find those bad boys are going to be pretty tough, and I'm sure they're already sold out. But if you can get your hands on one, I definitely go for it. It actually came as a bundle with the game for free, if you want to put that. Other than that, like I said, I rate this game about a 9 out of 10. The only reason I probably wouldn't have done a 10 out of 10 is I feel that, you know, I guess I'm just a stickler for wanting to give a 10 out of 10. I feel like it should have a 10 out of 10, but I guess I haven't got far enough in the game yet, which I haven't beaten yet, but, you know, who knows. Anyways, so that's God of War for you guys. If you have any other questions or something like that, just let me know. But other than that, go out and get yourself some God of War. It's a fantastic game. It's a good way to seriously just relax. You can go ahead and save at any time, so it's not like you have to be committed to anything. And it's pretty challenging. It has a wonderful storyline, and the graphics are absolutely amazing. You don't just have that, like, short distance, you know, view. You know how sometimes after a while it starts to fade out? Not a bit. It's totally seamless and completely beautiful. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy, and maybe this gave you a little bit of information or a boost to want you to actually go get this game, because you guys will be missing out. If not, you can join me for my Twitch streams, and other than that, I hope to see you guys soon, and I hope you enjoyed everything I had to give you. Okay, bye.